There is a moment in every man's life when the person he relied on disappears. Maybe it was a father, a mentor, a leader, a teacher, or someone he believed would guide him through life. And suddenly there's silence. No direction. No path. No one to tell him what the next step should be. Most men crumble there. They lose themselves in distraction, in weakness, in waiting for someone new to come save them. But a rare kind of man awakens in that silence, because he understands something ancient. The path of mastery begins the moment you have no master. This was the path of the Ronin, a samurai without a lord, a warrior without orders, a man forced to build his own way from nothing. This is the forgotten code that the modern world desperately needs. Because today, more than ever, there are countless men walking through life like Ronin. Lost, unanchored, directionless. But they don't realize this is not a curse. It's an initiation. And if you understand the code, you will become someone who moves through life with terrifying self-direction. A man who needs no permission, no approval, no guide. A true Ronin. Chapter 1: The Day the Banner Falls. In ancient Japan, a samurai's entire identity came from one thing. The banner he carried, the crest of his lord. It told him who he was. It told him what to fight for. It told him how to live and how to die. But when a lord fell in war, betrayal, or failure, his warriors were left with a blank sky above them. No orders. No purpose. This moment was called the fall of the banner. And it created two kinds of men. One, the broken who wandered without meaning, becoming bandits, gamblers, drifters. Two, the forged who realized that when the banner falls, you must raise your own. That was the birth of a Ronin. Not just a warrior without a master. A warrior who becomes his own master. Today, the banners that fall are different. A job you depended on. A relationship you built your identity around. A family that failed you. A dream that collapsed. But the principle is the same. When the external world stops telling you who you are given the chance to decide for yourself. Most people run from that responsibility. A Ronin walks straight into it. Chapter 2: The First Rule: Stand alone without crumbling. The first and most brutal law of the Ronin code is simple. If you cannot stand alone, you cannot stand at all. Strength borrowed from others is not strength. Discipline enforced by a master disappears the moment the master is gone. Confidence built on validation dies when the world stops applauding. A Ronin builds something different. A spine that isn't held up by anyone else. In the old scrolls, it was written, when a man walks alone, the ground beneath him becomes the training. Life becomes the dojo. Every setback becomes a teacher. Every challenge becomes sparring. Every mistake becomes a blade sharpening you. No master means no protection. No master means you are exposed. No master means you bear the full weight of your decisions. But that's exactly what reshapes a man into something unbreakable. A Ronin learns to ask himself the hard questions he once expected others to answer. What must I do next? What must I become? What weakness must I cut away today? self-governance, self-direction, self-correction. A Ronin does not wait for orders. He orders himself. Chapter 3: The Enemy Within. When a samurai lost his master, people feared he would turn violent. But the most dangerous battles a Ronin fought were not with rival clans. They were internal. A Ronin's true enemy was drift, the slow decay of purpose. Because without direction, the mind becomes the battlefield of demons. Laziness, overthinking, fear of the future, nostalgia for the past, the desire to escape into pleasure. An ancient Ronin poet wrote, "When the master is gone, the mind becomes the thief." Meaning, your own comfort will steal your strength. Your own doubt will steal your future. Your own distractions will steal your purpose. So the Ronin developed a brutal discipline. Guard your inner world as if it were a fortress. They lived by routines sharper than blades. Waking before sunrise. Training without supervision. Meditating without guidance. Practicing skills even when nobody was watching. Their code said, "A man who cannot rule his mind will be ruled by the world." Modern men are ruled by everything. Their impulses, their screens, their desires, their emotions. A Ronin becomes the ruler of himself. Chapter 4: The Blade That Cuts Both Ways. There is a famous teaching among wandering swordsmen. Your sword is not for others. Your sword is for yourself. Most people misunderstand this. They imagine the Ronin as some lone warrior fighting enemies on empty roads. But the blade was something deeper. A symbol of the one thing the Ronin could rely on: his skill. When a man loses the structures that once held him in place, school, parents, bosses, routines, his value collapses if he has no sharpened skill to stand on. A Ronin's blade was not just steel. It was mastery, swordsmanship, calligraphy, strategy, craftsmanship, martial arts. Something he could carry everywhere. Something nobody could take from him. Something that grew sharper the more life tested him. The modern Ronin must do the same. Your blade might be your craft, your business, your discipline, your mindset, your unique skill. This blade cuts two ways. It gives you identity when the world strips everything away. It gives you direction when all paths disappear. A man without a sharpened skill becomes dependent. A Ronin without a sharpened skill becomes dangerous. Chapter 5: The Discipline of Invisible Progress. When a samurai served a lord, his work was recognized. He earned rank, reward, social status. But the Ronin, he trained in obscurity. No applause, no audience, no praise. Imagine practicing every day, knowing that nobody will pat your back. Nobody will congratulate you. Nobody will even notice. Most men collapse under that silence. But the Ronin learned something profound. The world only sees your transformation when it becomes impossible to ignore. Invisible progress is the most powerful kind, because it rewires your identity while no one is watching. Every morning a Ronin trained alone in some valley. Every evening he sharpened his blade by firelight. Every night he slept on cold ground. Nobody saw it. But one day, warriors who mocked him would face him on the battlefield and realize too late that every private repetition had turned into lethal public mastery. That's what mastery looks like today. The hours you spend learning when others are scrolling. The workouts you do when nobody is clapping. The skills you build when nobody is validating you. The habits you maintain even when the world doesn't care. Ronin progress is slow, silent, unseen until one day it's undeniable. That's when people say, he changed overnight. But the Ronin knows the truth. It wasn't overnight. It was unnoticed. Chapter 6: Walking the Lonely Road Without Becoming Lost. The Ronin path is lonely, but not all loneliness is the same. There's destructive loneliness, where a man wanders without direction and rots from within. And there's transformative loneliness, where isolation becomes the forge that rebuilds him. The Ronin understood this difference. They isolated themselves on purpose, not to escape life, but to confront it. When you walk alone, you face truths you once avoided. Your weaknesses, your fears, your wasted time, your addictions, your excuses. Most men surround themselves with noise to avoid these truths. A Ronin strips away the noise until all that remains is the man and his reality. That confrontation is brutal. It destroys illusions. It exposes flaws. It burns away ego. But once you stand in that fire long enough, something happens. The loneliness stops feeling like emptiness and starts feeling like power. Because now you've proven something. You can rely on yourself. You can build energy alone. You can move without approval. You can stand without support. This is the paradox of the Ronin life. You only become ready for the world after learning how to survive without it. Chapter 7: The Unbreakable Mind. When a samurai served under a lord, his mind belonged to the clan. His decisions, his beliefs, his values, all shaped by external forces. But a Ronin had to rebuild his mind from scratch. He became his own philosopher. He questioned everything he once believed. He challenged every idea that felt comfortable. He broke apart every mental pattern that made him weak. From this internal rebellion emerged the greatest Ronin skill: an unbreakable mind. A Ronin mind has 3 attributes. 1. Ruthless clarity. He knows what he wants and cuts away anything that isn't aligned. 2. Controlled emotion. Fear may whisper, but it never commands. Anger may rise, but it never blinds. Pain may hurt, but it never stops him. 3. Unshakable responsibility. No excuses. No blaming others. No waiting for help. A Ronin wakes up every day knowing everything is on me, and that responsibility, instead of crushing him, frees him. Because a man is only free when he no longer depends on anyone else to move forward. Chapter 8: The Code That Modern Men Forgot. The Ronin code was never written in one place. It wasn't a book. It wasn't a scroll. It was a way of life. A living philosophy forged in the harshest moments a man could face. Today, men have forgotten this code. They live soft, confused, directionless lives, waiting for someone to tell them how to exist. But the Ronin code contains the antidote. 1. No master, no problem become your own. Stop waiting for mentors, leaders, saviors. 2. Walk alone not to escape others, but to discover yourself. Solitude exposes your truth. 3. Sharpen your blade, a skill that nobody can take from you. Your craft is your freedom. 4. Train in silence, the world will notice when the time is right. Invisible progress is invincible progress. 5. Control your mind, or the world will control you. A disciplined mind is the rarest weapon. 6. Live by self-direction, not external validation. Your path belongs only to you. 7. Rise after every fall, that's the Ronin signature. You can't break a man who keeps rebuilding himself. The forgotten code isn't about rebellion. It's about evolution. It's about becoming the kind of man who cannot be owned, cannot be controlled, cannot be derailed. A man who lives from an internal center, untouched by the world's chaos. Chapter 9: The Return of the Warrior. Because here's the truth. The Ronin did not remain wanderers forever. The ones who mastered themselves eventually became stronger than the samurai who never lost their masters. Some became legendary swordsmen. Some became teachers. Some became leaders of new clans. Some became philosophers who shaped entire eras. The Ronin path. The path without guidance, without protection, without certainty. Created men the world had no choice but to respect. And the same will happen with you. If you walk this path long enough. If you sharpen your blade with relentless focus. If you build discipline that doesn't need witnesses. If you master your mind in silence. You will return to the world as someone transformed. A man who cannot be manipulated. A man who cannot be broken. A man who lives by a code deeper than rules. A modern Ronin. Choose the path. You don't need to lose everything to become a Ronin. You simply need to make a decision. I will no longer depend on the world to shape me. I will shape myself. This is the forgotten code. The code that builds men who walk with purpose, with clarity, with quiet power. Not warriors controlled by a master, but warriors who master themselves. If you're ready to walk that path, then raise your own banner today. Choose your discipline. Choose your craft. Choose your values. Choose your direction. And then, walk the path alone. Until you no longer fear the silence. Until you no longer need approval. Until you no longer seek a master. Because now, you are the master.